What had dropped to 31 degrees. In northern Siberia, that wasn't unusual. But
He's
that
weak
night,
but breathing.
the cold
I
felt
know.
different.
We need to get him warm.
It wasn't just freezing.
Let's lift him.
It
Careful.
was merciless.
Easy
wind
there, I've got
sliced
you.
through the forest like invisible knives,
Almost free now.
rattling the thin wooden walls of Ivan Petrov's cabin. Snow had been falling for hours, thick and heavy, burying the narrow path that led from his home to the frozen river 2 kilometers away. Ivan had lived alone in that cabin for nearly 8 years. After
My
his
son
wife
hasn't
passed
spoken
away,
since
he
his
left
mother
the
passed
small
away.
town and
He
moved
saw
into
your
the
story. He
wilderness.
wanted to come.
He didn't hate people. He just couldn't bear the noise anymore. The forest was quiet, honest. It didn't ask questions. That evening, Ivan was stacking firewood beside his cabin when he heard something unusual. Not the wind, not the cracking of ice, a sound, soft, weak, almost like a cry. He froze. At -31, any living creature outside without shelter wouldn't survive long. Ivan grabbed his lantern and stepped into the storm. The snow reached his knees as he followed the faint sound into the trees. His breath turned to frost instantly. His beard crystallized with ice. Then he saw it, a young deer, collapsed near a fallen birch tree. Its legs were trembling violently. Ice clung to its fur. One of its hind legs was twisted at an unnatural angle. The animal's eyes were wide, not aggressive, not wild, just terrified. Ivan stood still. In Siberia, you don't interfere with nature lightly. Survival is a balance. But as he looked at the creature struggling to breathe in the brutal cold, something inside him shifted. He remembered the hospital room, his wife's trembling hands, the helplessness. "No one dies alone," he whispered. Slowly, carefully, he approached. The deer tried to stand but collapsed immediately. Ivan removed his thick wool coat and gently wrapped it around the animal's body. The deer flinched but didn't fight. "That's it," he murmured. "Easy." With enormous effort, Ivan lifted the deer onto his shoulders. The animal was lighter than it looked, but in that snow, every step felt like walking through wet cement. The wind howled louder. The storm intensified. Twice he slipped. Once he nearly fell face first into the snow. But he kept walking. By the time he reached his cabin, his fingers were numb. Inside, he laid the deer near the fireplace and shut the door firmly against the wind. The warmth slowly filled the room. For hours, Ivan worked carefully. He cleaned the deer's leg. It wasn't broken, just badly sprained. He melted snow for water. He fed it small pieces of dried berries. The deer didn't resist. It watched him, silently, trustingly. By morning, the storm had passed. The forest outside looked like a frozen ocean. The deer was still alive, its breathing steadier, its eyes calmer. Ivan sat in his wooden chair, exhausted. He hadn't felt needed in years. For 3 days, the deer stayed inside the cabin. Ivan named her Anya. He didn't know why. It just felt right. Anya grew stronger each day. She began standing, limping slowly, eating more. On the 4th morning, Ivan opened the cabin door. The forest shimmered under the pale winter sun. "It's time," he said softly. Anya hesitated. Then she stepped outside. She paused at the edge of the trees, turned back, looked at him. For a long moment, neither moved. Then she disappeared into the white silence. Ivan stood there longer than he expected. The cabin felt emptier again. Days passed, then weeks. Winter deepened. Ivan returned to routine, chopping wood, checking traps, fishing through the ice. He assumed he would never see the deer again. Wild animals don't return. That's what he believed, until one evening, he heard footsteps outside. Soft, measured. He opened the door and froze. Anya stood there, stronger, healthier. But she wasn't alone. Behind her stood 3 other deer. They weren't afraid. They simply watched him. Ivan's heart pounded. Anya stepped forward, close enough that he could see her breath in the air. She lowered her head gently, almost like a bow. Then something even stranger happened. The other deer stepped forward too. Not aggressively, not cautiously, respectfully. It was as if Anya had brought them, as if she was showing them something. Showing them him. From that day forward, the deer appeared often. Not every day, but frequently. They never damaged his garden, never disturbed his supplies. Sometimes they would stand quietly near his cabin while he worked. Other times, Anya would approach close enough for him to touch her neck gently. Word spread months later when a supply pilot flying over the region noticed unusual animal movement near Ivan's isolated cabin. When researchers came in spring to study migration patterns, they were stunned. The local deer population had shifted routes, forming a safer winter path that curved near Ivan's cabin, a path protected from heavy winds. a path leading toward food sources Ivan unknowingly maintained by clearing certain forest patches. The injured deer he saved had become a guide, a leader, and the herd followed her. One researcher asked Ivan, "How did you manage to gain their trust?" Ivan shrugged. "I didn't." He stared at Anya standing at the edge of the trees. "I just didn't let her die." But what shocked everyone most happened the following winter. Another storm, even worse than before. -34 degrees Celsius. Wind speeds high enough to rip branches from trees. Ivan's woodpile collapsed during the night. He went outside to fix it and slipped, hitting his head hard against the frozen ground. He lay there, dazed, bleeding, the cold creeping in quickly. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Then shadows moved through the snow. Anya and the herd. They surrounded him, blocking the wind, their bodies forming a living wall, their warmth shielding him from the worst of the storm. Anya nudged his shoulder repeatedly until he stirred. The noise caught the attention of a passing forestry patrol vehicle, forced off its route by the storm. The officers later said they had never seen anything like it. A circle of deer, standing still, guarding a man. If the patrol hadn't seen the unusual formation, they would never have stopped. They carried Ivan back inside. Saved his life. When he regained full consciousness 2 days later, the forest ranger told him, "You saved one deer." Ivan looked out the frost-covered window. Anya stood there again, watching. "No," he whispered, "she saved me." In Siberia's brutal wilderness, survival is usually about strength, but sometimes it's about kindness. And at 31 degrees Celsius, one simple act of compassion created a bond so powerful that even nature itself seemed to bow to it. If you'd like, the forest felt different. Not colder, not quieter, closer. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man hiding from the world. He felt connected to it. The forestry patrol that found him during the storm had taken photos. At first, they didn't intend to share them, but one ranger couldn't resist. He uploaded a single image to a wildlife forum. The photo showed Ivan unconscious in the snow, and a perfect circle of deer standing around him, guarding him. Within 24 hours, the image had spread beyond the forum. Within 72 hours, it was everywhere. Headlines called it, "The Man Protected by Wild Deer." Siberia's Snow Guardian. Proof that kindness comes back. Reporters tried to locate the cabin. Environmental researchers contacted regional authorities. Wildlife biologists debated the behavior on television. Highly unusual, one expert said. Extremely rare herd defense response, said another. Emotional projection, skeptics argued. But no one could deny the image. It was real. And eventually, they found him. The first interview. When the small documentary crew arrived by snowmobile in early spring, Ivan almost sent them away. He disliked cameras. He disliked noise. But Anya stood nearby in the trees, watching. And for some reason, Ivan agreed. The interviewer asked him carefully, "Why did you risk your life that night?" Ivan stared at the fire. "Because I could." "That's it?" "Yes." "But you didn't know she would survive." "I didn't need to." The crew stayed for 3 days. They filmed Anya approaching him freely. They filmed the herd resting near the cabin. They filmed Ivan repairing fences while deer grazed calmly behind him. The footage felt unreal. No bait, no fences, no fear. When the documentary aired, it exploded globally. Millions watched. Comments poured in. This restored my faith in humanity. If animals remember kindness, why can't we? He lives alone, yet he's not alone at all. But the attention came with something else. Pressure. The offer. 3 months later, a luxury ecotourism company contacted him. They wanted to build a Siberian Harmony retreat near his land. Observation decks, guided deer tours, luxury cabins. "We can compensate you generously," the representative said via satellite phone. "You could live comfortably. We would preserve the wildlife." Ivan listened quietly. Then he walked outside. Anya stood just beyond the clearing, watching him, waiting. "I'm not interested," he said and ended the call. Because he understood something the world didn't. The deer trusted him because he never needed anything from them. The moment money entered the forest, that trust would fracture. The change in the herd. By the second summer, something extraordinary happened. The herd grew. Migration studies confirmed it. More deer were choosing the safer winter corridor near Ivan's cabin. Predator attacks in that area dropped significantly because the herd had reorganized its movement patterns. Anya had become a lead doe, confident, strong. She carried herself differently now. Ivan noticed small details, how the younger deer followed her cues, how she positioned herself between danger and the herd. She's not the same frightened animal anymore, he murmured once. And in truth, neither was he. The boy from the city. One autumn afternoon, before the first snowfall, a helicopter landed unexpectedly in a nearby clearing. A single passenger stepped out, a boy, maybe 10 years old, thin, pale, wearing a heavy coat too large for him. Behind him walked his father. They approached slowly. The father spoke first. My son hasn't spoken since his mother passed away. Ivan felt something tighten in his chest. The father continued. He saw your story. He wanted to come. The boy stared at the forest, not at Ivan, not at the cabin, just at the trees. Ivan nodded toward a fallen log. Sit. They waited. For nearly an hour, nothing happened. Then movement. Anya emerged from between the trees, calm, measured. The boy's eyes widened. She stepped closer. Stopped 10 meters away, then 5, then 3. The boy slowly removed a glove and extended his trembling hand. Anya leaned forward. Her nose touched his palm, and the boy cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears rolling down frozen cheeks. And for the first time in months, he whispered one word, warm. His father covered his face and wept openly. Ivan looked away. Some moments are too sacred to watch directly. Winter returns. The following winter was the harshest yet. Temperatures dropped below 35 degrees Celsius. Food became scarce. Wolves ventured closer than usual. Ivan noticed tension in the herd's movements. Anya visited more frequently, restless, alert. Then one night, distant howls echoed through the forest. Too close. Ivan grabbed his rifle, not to hunt, but to scare. He stepped into the snow and fired a warning shot into the air. The wolves scattered temporarily.
Easy
But
there, I've
hunger
got
makes
you.
Predators bold.
Almost
3
free
nights,
now.
the howls returned. On the 4th night,
He's
chaos
weak but
erupted.
breathing.
Deer
I
sprinted
know.
past his
We
cabin.
need to get him
Snow
warm.
exploded into
Let's
the
lift
air.
him.
Shadows
Careful.
moved fast. Ivan ran toward the noise. He saw wolves circling. He fired again, shouted, threw burning wood from a torch into the snow. The wolves hesitated, then retreated, but not before one lunged. Anya staggered, a deep wound across her shoulder. Ivan rushed to her side. Not again, he whispered. He guided her back to the cabin, just like the first night. Only this time she walked beside him. Inside, he cleaned the wound carefully. She didn't resist, didn't panic. She trusted him. Days passed. The herd lingered near the cabin constantly, as if guarding her, as if remembering. Ivan barely slept. He fed her by hand, spoke to her softly, told her stories of his wife, of the city, of loneliness. On the 6th day, she stood, weak, but steady. And something shifted in Ivan then. He realized the forest no longer felt like a place he escaped to. It felt like home, the final shock. Spring arrived early that year, and with it, something no one expected. Tourists never came, because Ivan never allowed it. But researchers continued observing from a respectful distance. One morning, satellite tracking collars revealed something astonishing. The herd had permanently altered its migration route. Not temporarily, not seasonally, permanently. A wildlife professor summarized it best. This is not random. This is adaptive trust behavior. The herd reorganized around a human presence they identified as non-threatening and protective. In simple words, they chose him, not because he fed them, not because he trained them, but because one night at 31 degrees Celsius, he chose compassion over indifference. And in the wild, that choice echoed for years. The quiet ending. Years later, when Ivan's hair turned fully white and his hands grew slower, Anya still visited. Older now, scars visible, eyes wiser. One evening, as golden sunlight touched the snow, she approached closer than ever before. Ivan sat on the steps. She lowered herself gently beside him. Not standing, not alert, just resting, like an old friend. Ivan placed his hand on her neck. Looks like we both survived, he smiled. In the distance, the herd grazed peacefully. The forest was quiet, not empty. Never empty again. Because at -31 degrees Celsius, on a night when the wilderness remembered. If you want,